The separation has been coming on for years and years and years. It just has been even in Vegas. It was obvious where he spent his time. I mean, your kids were always over asking where dad is. They didn't see him either. And we know he was never over at Mary's house. So we all knew he was over at Robyn's. I'd asked Vin to live there for a year for goodness sakes. So everybody knew that he was over at Robyn's, yet we did all that family counseling. And they were like, I don't know where he is either. I have no idea. And I'm like, music. Hey friends, it's Kody from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, April 22nd, 2024, and I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. You know, the last few days we've been going through some of the UK TLC clips, and I found a couple more nuggets that I want to talk with you about this afternoon. Oddly enough, trying to deduce what's new and what's not versus like what we hear is taking me hours because I have to watch the actual video or the actual episode in the US. And then I have to compare it compared to what is put out on the UK YouTube channel. And because they condense all of the scenes into like an 8-minute section on the UK version, I have to like go back and watch a whole episode that's not condensed in the US. So it's been taking forever, but I did find a couple pieces. And one of those had to do with this assertion that Kody and Robyn were really spending all of their time together, and Kody was never around the family while they were in Vegas. And we have heard about this through like third parties, so we have heard from I interviewed a friend of Kody and Robyn's, or Kody's from the All, and this was a woman that was friends with the family. And she had told me that Kody was out to lunch with her and her husband, and had been talking quite a bit about the amount of time he was spending with Robyn, and how he couldn't get enough of Robyn, and that's all he wanted to do was be with Robyn. And on the tell he said he never fell in love. Like that, the friend here said that it had to do with sex, and Kody was just like obsessed with having intimate relations with Robyn, so we had that side of things. And then we also had heard from Preston Jessup's niece, who is Robyn, Brown's ex-husband, and she had told me that she had been told by Aurora that Kody and Robyn were often just locked up in their bedroom, and that meant that Aurora was tasked with managing the needs of Solomon and her younger siblings while they were upstairs locked away and told not to bother them, and Aurora, referring to her mom as Mother Gothel, narcissistic, controlling, and basically feeling like Robyn was locking her kids in a tower, away from the world, and kind of like kidnapped from their real family. That was sort of the analogy that Aurora had allegedly shared with her cousin. So we had heard in third party, through sources, but the family has always said things like he was always over at Kody and Robyn's. And then there has never been any specific evidence as to why they feel that way, right? And then Kody and Robyn always will say, no, I was not always over there. I only was over there because I had an office there. So when we were in Las Vegas, Robyn gave me an office space and a space for my car if I was in the garage or if I was working in the office. I wasn't with Robyn all the time, but it's somehow in their past where I was with Robyn all the time. And that's not true, so Kody likes to gaslight in project, and he'll say things like, they're comparing. They're not looking at what I'm doing for them. Comparison is the death of joy. He'll say things like, I was only over there because I had an office and a place for my car. It's all just lies, and it's all just crap. And if that's the truth, if he only had an office at Robyn's house, why then would they not know that? Why would the other wives not know that he had an office there, right? Like, it's just a stupid lie. So there's a clip of Janelle and Christine Confe talking about Janelle telling her that she's kind of done with Kody. And during the conversation, Christine said she's known that this separation was ongoing for a long time. It was going all the way back into Las Vegas. And she finally admits how she knew he was always over at Robyn. And it had to do with the fact that one of her daughters was literally living with them. The separation has been coming on for years and years and years. It just has been even in Vegas. It was obvious where he spent his time. Your kids were always over asking where dad is. They didn't see him either, and we know He was never over at Mary's house, so we all knew he was over at Robyn's. I had asked Ben to live there for a year for goodness sakes, so everybody knew that he was over at Robyn's. Yet we did all that family counseling, and they were like, I don't know where he is either, I have no idea. And I'm like, so as teenagers and children, generally do they look for their dad when they want to see their dad, because kids want to see their dad and talk to their dad, and they never find their dad, and in the cul-de-sac they had the ability to walk from house to house within a very short period of distance. Houses were all very close together, and they could go from one home to another across the street and say, is Dad over here? Is Dad over here? Is Dad over here? And she's saying they're always at my house asking where Kody is, and he was never here, and he wasn't at your house, and then there she shares it. I had Aspen living there for a year for goodness sakes, so when Aspen was in college she was attending UNLV, and for a year she lived with Mikkel, and after a year their living together did not work very well, and Mel decided that she was going to take a pause on her college, and she was going to move back to Utah, and so Melty left for George, and then Aspen made the decision that she would move back home. But instead of living with her mom, she wanted to live with Robyn, so Aspen lives there in a home with Robyn for a year. And she probably saw a lot of things, and I'm assuming was able to tell her mom what she saw and how frequently she saw her dad over there, so Aspen probably got a lot of exposure to for a dad. Why Kody and Robyn would lie about this makes sense, but why this wouldn't obviously be shared on our show, the one we see on You in the US, as a way for us to go, yeah, I forgot about that, because we always forget so many seasons before, right? Like, I go back and I'll watch season 14 and I'll forget half the crap that happened then. So if you're not constantly rewatching the episodes, you forget that they had kids living with them that would have known, so their lies are just so stupid. But finally Christine's like confirming that Aspen is telling her what's going on and relaying that back to her, so in a way Aspen's kind of like her spy, but she's not her spy, but you know what I mean, which lends itself to why there's no safety in this family. You can't keep secrets, so no wonder Kody wants to keep them all super separated in Flagstaff and away from Coyote Pass, cause then there's no more spying. I'm not going to be friends with anyone I can't trust either. I mean, every time we going to counseling and anyone would bring this up, they would act all deer in the headlights. Well, I don't know where he is. I don't know what is. I don't track him. Robyn and Kody Dine. That Kody was there so much, but you know what, at this point it really doesn't matter. But there was definitely a perception on the part of my children and Christine's children that he was very fixated on the fact that Kody and Robyn were always together, because Christine wanted more time with Kody. She was much more interested in having a complete marriage than Janelle was. Janelle was okay with her independence. She seemed to be living in a state of perpetual friend zone and didn't seem to care for a long time. In fact, I think their marriage was over for a very long time, and she just stayed because of their religion, and Christine seemed more emotionally invested in wanting to have a complete marriage. She didn't want to be satisfied with being strung along by Kody, so of course for Christine it would matter more to her where he's spending all of his time. But this clip by Janelle proves that from the kids' perspective, their depiction of their dad is not based upon what mom and dad say. It's not based on what Janelle is telling her kids. It's what her kids are actually experiencing. So if the kids can go and see out their window that dad's car is parked at Robyn's and that he's over there every single day, but he's never with them, that's not going to be Janelle poisoning the well and, turning the kids against him. That's the kids witnessing with their own eyes what they're seeing. And then Kody is just gaslighting them to try to remember history differently, to avoid the truth and to avoid accountability. And Robyn is likely gaslighting to avoid her own culpability of saying that she cared about being a sister wife, but in reality, she never did, because if she really would have truly cared about Kody and him having relationships with the other wives when he was always at her house, If he was always at her house, she would have told him to leave, but she would say, "Well, I would tell him to leave." And he would say, "No, I want to do it anyway." And then she would just say, "Well, I mean, I can't make him go. He's going to do what he wants to do." So her deflection is always, "I tell him not to do this." And then he does it anyway, doesn't really fly, because if you care about equity, you would send him out, you would say, "Nope. You're not going to stay here," which is the advice that she gave to him. When Christine kicked him out, saying that you don't let a guy stay at your house when it's not your night. Well, it sounds like she did. Let a guy stay at her house, and at her house on days that weren't her days, and then they're just so ignorant, or just they don't care, 'cause they're so wrapped up in their narcissism to forget they have kids living with them that have eyeballs that can see what's happening. It's truly disconcerting when you know that there's so many details about this sham of a show that have been withheld from the audience, because if the audience knew the truth, they wouldn't have watched you. And you Google, like 2016 Las Vegas Kody. Brown wives are leaving him. There have been articles every single year since 2016 that the wives were living separate lives, that Kody was rarely ever at their homes, that Kody was always with Robyn, and that even Robyn was not interested in being around Kody all the time, and that there was a point in time that Robyn was even considering leaving Kody because he was constantly on the hunt for more women. One of her friends, who is a longtime internet troll, but whatever, she was at the house, said that when she was over at the house, this is Kendra, that Kody asked her to be his wife, and if did she know any other women that would want to join, and that he was always looking for a new angle, for new meat, for new women, and that Robyn didn't like that. She didn't want him constantly on the hunt. But that's what she signed up for when she signed up for plural marriage. And then I have people that I've spoken to that literally were in episodes with the family that off camera told me that all Kody does off camera is flirt and hit on women, and he's really arrogant and believes that he's God's gift to women, and that off camera, when the show is not like rolling, that he is either flirting with other women or only solely focused on Robyn. There's no in between. And then the other women are just sort of there, filling out their contractual duties for the show. So since 2016, those were the reports, and then Kody in 2024 is all, I don't know why this happened. In 2020, he did an interview with Kate Casey on her podcast, and he literally told her that he was going through a midlife crisis. He says things, and then I think he just forgets that he says these things, or he just hopes that the public will forget so that his scam can keep on going. And every year for the last, 5 years, sources have been telling The Sun that this is going to be the last season of Sister Wives, and it seems like it happens right before the season's going to air, likely because the Browns are always on the verge of cancellation, and they're trying to drum up new interest in the show, and it's constantly in these articles that Kody needs to find new women. He needs to add new women. He's always looking for a storyline. When Christine left Kody, there was rumors that the separation in the beginning was just a storyline for the show. That's how convoluted this has become with the family. I remember telling a family member of Christine's that she was separated, and the family member did not believe me. They thought it was a storyline, that anything was for publicity. Kody, when Christine met David and got married, he believed that her rushed marriage was for a storyline for the show, because Kody's always turning things in the family into storylines. He doesn't actually think anything is real. So they have this very diluted family that's not really a family. By the way, it's not functioning as a family. It's Kody and Robyn, and then everyone else is just bit players in their lives that are on a show pretending like they have more contact with him than they do. But since 2016, it's been in the press that he has been only ever with Robyn. That's 8 years, and that was Christine left at 2021. So that is 5 years after the initial reports were that she was going to leave him. That's a long time. So they had people in their homes lying. They had people seeing what was going on, and then they act like that their lies are just going to be believed. It would have to be the definition of insanity to be around these two because their lies never seem to end. And even now, with everything that's happened with the tragedies that have unfolded, there are still tabloid articles that it's Kody that is so devastated, and he's so grieving, and he's never going to reconcile with Janelle. And it's like literally all about him. And then it's all about Robyn being miserable, and by tabloid, if we go off, the tabloids, Kody and Robyn's marriage has been miserable for like 6 years, so for him to say that she's the love of his life, when every other day there's an article that's like Kody and Robyn's marriage is miserable, she's not happy, 'cause he's so angry all the time. The truth of their lives do not match the truth of the show, or the fiction that's been on the show. But Christine says in literal words, I know he was over there, because my daughter lived with them, and in truth, Chris, they always positioned it as the kids were moving in with Robyn. But they weren't moving in with Robyn if they all knew that Kody was over at Robyn's all the time. The kids were really moving in with their dad. That's the truth. So if Kody's with Robyn all the time and the kids want to live with dad because they don't see him at mom's house, all they have to do is move in with Robyn, and then they're really living with Robyn and their dad. So it's not really moving in with or Robyn, it's I'm moving in with my dad. That's the reality. So that's all I have for this to leave them. Tell me what your thoughts are. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, we're getting close to 370,000 subscribers, so hit the subscribe button on your way out and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.